Money doesn't just come from one place. It drips, trickles, flows, and floods into our lives in different ways. Welcome to Drip, Trickle, Flow, Flood, a podcast that explores the power of multiple income streams. We've got merch. That's right. Drip, Trickle, Flow, Flood t-shirts are officially here, and they're as comfy as they are conversation starting. Grab yours at the link in our show notes. All right, everybody. We're so excited today to have Angie Nordby with us. She is the founder of Ardor Salon in Bellingham, Washington. Welcome, Angie. I love
Thank
talking
you.
beauty. This is good stuff. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, hi Angie.
Of
Thanks for
course.
being here.
Yeah. Hello. Good morning.
Angie,
And
how long have you been in this business?
I got licensed in 2009, but I worked in a beauty school when I was in high school. Yeah.
Nice.
yeah, and it's funny. I can't say that I normally enjoy talking beauty, but because I'm far from an expert in it. But as listeners know, Lindsay, my wife, and I used to own a couple salons, so this is fun for me to live vicariously through Angie for 35 minutes here.
Yeah. Owning a salon it can be a lot of fun.
Yeah, so
So-
tell us about the salon, the size of it, the number of stylists, and what's going on in there.
Yeah. So it's a pretty decent sized salon at this point. We have 8 chairs and there's 10 of us. Myself and 9 other stylists that work there or work here. And we are really leaning into being like low tox, eco-friendly. We're a plastic-free salon, which I think kind of sets us apart from a lot of other salons in Bellingham right now. Yeah, so we're just like kind of doing our part to do well for the planet and still provide amazing beauty services for everyone.
Talk about sourcing products and, how that works, finding products that actually work and are, financially feasible and check that box of being plastic free and all that.
Yeah, so when I first started the salon, we weren't 100% plastic free yet, but I had found or 2 brands that I really loved that were plastic free. That kind of hit all the marks. Like they're like 98% naturally derived ingredients. And it just took a lot of research to find them. And I did so much trial and error trying to figure this out. So pretty much every product that we have here and product line we carry, like I've used at home for a certain amount of time to make sure that it was a performance-based product that we could carry that would work well. But yeah, it was a really difficult venture. When we finally got rid of our one product line that was packaged in plastic, I found another line to replace it. And it's been pretty easy since then. And honestly, the price points for these are really on par with like our Doviness and Kevin Murphy brands, which are considered the higher end of hair care in the professional world. They do consider themselves clean, eco-friendly, low tox, but we're just kind of like going the next level up. So we're like, these products that we carry are kind of like the luxury of luxury.
Yeah, very cool. When we had our salons, Doviness was one of the products that
Yeah.
we carried, and we actually went to Parma, Italy, and toured the facility. And they are a very impressive company, and it sounds like you found one that's kind of almost the next level of doing good. And that is one of the things with salons is there's a lot of chemicals in that environment, or there can be historically, and it's hard on stylist bodies, both the standing and the toxic chemicals and all those things. So it's cool that you
Exactly.
found a way to do that. So are you sourcing it through like directly, or using a product rep, or how's that working?
So we actually source directly through 2 of the brands. One is Oway. They are in Bologna, Italy. Most of these products are made in Italy, honestly. I mean, Italy just does such a great job at making their product lines and color lines. So the Oway that's in Bologna is all on a biodynamic farm there, and they sell directly to us. And then we have Colton King, and they are in the US. They're based out of Salt Lake City. And And they're kind of like a smaller boutique brand, and we buy directly from them. And then we have Arte, which is our other line. They're kind of like the direct competitor with OA, and through the Simply Organic distributing company that's over on the East Coast.
How did
Yeah.
you align with that mission of eco-friendly? Was this something that you were always passionate about? Was it something that came up when you became a stylist? Did it come up when you started the business? Walk us through a little bit of that piece.
I kind of started toying around with it pretty early on in my career with color lines and wanting to steer away from having like PPDs and resorcinol and some of those like harsh chemicals that can cause allergic reactions. With stylists and clients, we tend to contact dermatitis is like a big issue in the hair world. And I was having friends that were starting to get these things. And so I was like, I'm just gonna find like a nice clean color line. And I came across Kevin Murphy eventually, which I was trained as an educator with them as a color educator and used them for like probably at least 10 years, if not a little bit longer than that. And so that kind of opened the door to that. And then with that, I just started embracing the Kevin Murphy product lines. I used Davines for a lot of my at home products for a long time. I worked at another salon in town that was a Kevin Murphy salon, and I just saw like a huge difference in, in how my skin reacted to the products, how my hair, my scalp, and all those good things that we want to work really well. And then it kind of just snowballed from there. And the more I embraced that side, the more I started finding these other lines that were even more clean. And then getting into like learning about microplastics and really leaning into trying to reduce that in my lifestyle at home. And then it kind of just trickled its way into the salon.
So let's back up a little bit to, I mean, we've kind of gotten into the weeds to the start, but then I want to like
Yeah.
go up a little bit and tell us of what it's like to own a salon and, that decision of going from being just behind the chair to saying, all right, I'm going to be an entrepreneur and start my own business. I don't know if you were booth renting before. So basically, if people don't know, normally
Yeah.
in the hair world, you're either a commissioned stylist or you're a booth renter, is what it's called. Basically, you're renting your chair within a salon. And so I don't know what you were doing before, but how did you go from that, which really stylists are kind of operating their own business a little bit, to saying, I'm full on going to open up a salon and not only be responsible for myself and my clients, but everybody else's as well.
Yeah. Well, so I was only an employee stylist for maybe like 2 years when I first started my career, and then I built a clientele really fast, and I jumped right into booth rental. And going into booth rental, everything just kind of starts to fall into place, and I had some clients that really set me up well, so they kind of got me set up as being like an LLC S corp pretty early on in my booth rental days. And then I've always worked with, like a financial advisor and accountants and really like stayed on top of all of my numbers as a booth renter. And then I started like a little mini education company where I was traveling and teaching classes around. I went from Washington to like Oregon, and I did some stuff in California too. And that was like my own independent education company. So I kind of got this taste of mentoring other stylists through that and through training as an educator with Kevin Murphy. And I was like a education coordinator for the salon that I was at previously. So I think all those things kind of set me up one in like mentorship and like helping other stylists, and also just own having my booth, being a booth renter for so long, but then having my, LLC S corp and working with my financial advisor and accountant and really understanding the numbers that I was seeing. And it honestly just kind of happened. Like I wasn't anticipating on opening like a 8-chair salon with 10 stylists. I was like, oh, I'm just going to go off and maybe find a studio and have an assistant. And then I had a friend who was like, well, I want to come to wherever you're going. So I was like, all right, so I'll have like 3 chairs. And then, you know, like I said, everything has just kind of fallen into place pretty well for me throughout my hair career. And I found the space that I have in Fairhaven, and yeah, the rest was kind of history.
It sounds like you had a real dream team too, Angie, when you said you had your
Yeah.
financial advisor and accountant. And
Yeah.
I've never worked in the salon industry, but I've talked to enough people in that industry to know that's something they struggle with is like to find the right
Yeah.
support when it comes to the financial end of it. So talk a little bit about that. Like, how did you put together such an awesome team that really, I think, empowered you, right, to go in this direction? You must have a magic skill of connecting with the right
You
people.
know, it's the skill of being a hairstylist where you just like build connections with people. So I think I was like in my third or fourth year doing hair, and I was booth renting, and I started cutting this guy's hair. Um, and he was like a financial advisor and tax consultant. And he was like, if you ever want help, like with your taxes or anything, like let me know. Like I'll totally help you out. And I was like, no, 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 I totally got this. This is a big deal. I can do this all by myself. And I learned I could not do it all by myself, that was a little beyond my scope. And I like owed the IRS some money that I did not plan for. And so then I started working with him, and he got me like all set up and got everything straightened out for me. And he actually introduced me to the bookkeeping accountant firm that I work with. And that it just, like I said, everything is just kind of like fallen into place. I've just met the right people, connected with the right people. And like, I'm kind of like a yes person. I'm like, yeah, sure. Let's try it out. I've learned that can be really beneficial.
This is something we hear from a lot of the entrepreneurs that come on that yes, they have their business, their thing that they're making, their whatever their business is. But then as we start peeling back the layers, it's often all the behind the scenes stuff, the stuff that isn't the widget itself that actually is what's, laying the foundation for the success of your
Yeah.
business. So I want to back up to when you were a booth renter. So you were a booth renter, you were managing their education for the salon. I don't know if you were getting paid for that, and you had your own education business. So did you have three income streams at that point?
I had two. The education coordinator side of things that I did for the salon, I think was kind of like a passion project for me. I just really I've always been really passionate about education and continued education after becoming a stylist. Um, and honestly, being able to bring like big name educators to the salon I was working at, it got me some free tickets to classes. So there was like a big benefit in that, right? When you're the one putting everything together and they're like, oh, well, we'll give you a free ticket. Like, perfect. Love that. Because those classes can range between like $500 to like over $1,000 sometimes. So that was like a huge benefit in that. But yeah, so I really had like two income streams, doing hair behind the chair and then my education company.
And you're still doing tons of education. Angie and I have had a discussion before. And so talk a little bit about that, of how that has parlayed from, and I guess I can just say why. So Dave, what episode was Dave on, Melissa? I can't even remember. Anyways, he
I
has
don't know the
Southside
number.
Living. The way
Mhm.
that Angie and I connected is Dave connected Angie and I. Wrote an article for her that hasn't been released yet. And then so you can learn about Southside Living and that from Dave's episode, which I don't know, maybe it was episode like 15 or something. It was quite a while ago. Anyways, why don't you tell us about the education that you're now doing both in your salon and then traveling to do as well?
Yeah, so I have a co-stylist program that I've built out for the salon. So basically stylists that have graduated beauty school and have minimal experience can come work here as I call them a co-stylist because they are licensed. I think assistant just doesn't fit right for that role. because they are licensed stylists and they still are going to do amazing jobs. Um, so they come and they help out, and I have a program that involves a haircut certification course that I help teach. My mentor that's in San Diego created this methodology for haircutting that's like a 3-part certification. So they go through that entire 3-part certification as they're kind of working their way to becoming a commissioned stylist at the salon. And then with all of like the connections and stuff that I've built, I have the ability to bring some like kind of big name hair artists that teach these really like phenomenal classes to the salon, which I try to get somebody here about once a quarter. Um, Sometimes a little less than that because, like I said, those classes can be pretty expensive sometimes. So but it's really nice being able to provide that, not just for our salon here, but I open it up to the rest of the community too when I can. Um, and then I'm slowly going to start teaching classes out of the salon again myself. But my education company kind of went on the back burner when I decided to take on opening a salon.
That's amazing for, well, not just for the folks that work for you, but it sounds like for the broader community of Bellingham that they can come and learn at your space. That's amazing. So, and you can tell that's a huge piece of why you're doing this. Like you can
Mhm.
feel your mentorship even just coming through at this, in this episode, which is very cool. You can see that it's very natural for you. So I mean that's amazing, Angie. And do you see that continuing? Do you see yourself opening more salons? Do you see yourself situating more in the education space? What are some of your, let's say, 3 to 5 year plans?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see myself opening more salons in the future. Um, I'm definitely like on this growth plan. Like this is kind of like the first step of many for me. I would love to get back into the education realm. So, I mean, I don't know if I would like go beyond Washington State when it comes to salons, but I would love to see myself having, like 3 salons throughout like the I-5 corridor at some point. And then again, opening up my education company once again and starting to travel with that a little bit more. I think that would be really awesome. So I think probably in like about like another 3 years or so, maybe 5 years, I'll have another salon that's in the works. And the education company, I'm like thinking about stepping back from behind the chair a little bit more and starting to like step into that role again.
Where does where does the drive come from? And then after you talk about the drive, talk about, diversifying your income with this, right? You've got the, behind the chair with your team
Mhm.
physically doing hair, you have product sales, education, how does all work together? And I know how much work all that takes. How do you,
Yeah.
have the energy and the drive to do that?
I don't know. Maybe I'm just like a little crazy. I just like, I can't sit still. Like, I can't just like, I could have just stayed a booth renter for the rest of my life and I was making really good money. And, I was investing in my retirement and doing all the things. And I totally could have just rode that wave and been fine. But I just get antsy. I get to a point where I'm like, okay, now what? And I have to find something. I have to always be growing. Um, and so I think that's where the energy comes from. It's just like as soon as I feel like I've accomplished something, I'm like, okay, like I need to go to the next thing. Like I never truly accomplished anything because I'm always making it bigger and bigger. And then sorry, what was the second part of that question?
Just talking about the diversifying the income between the physically doing hair in the salon, and even that's
Yeah.
diversified. You could talk about that a little bit between, colors and cuts and all the different styling. Um, and then, yeah, product sales, education, and just diversifying your income. And I do, before you answer the question, we were fine tuning the time yesterday, and I sent an email no worries, we haven't heard from you. Just let us know. Hopefully you're out enjoying
Yeah.
the beautiful day. No, Angie was in the salon when she replied. So it takes a little bit of crazy and a lot of hustle to, to do it. But
Yeah.
yeah, talk about the income piece.
Yeah. I mean, the hustle is real, like I hear a lot of the like work-life balance stuff. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. Like, what do you mean work-life balance? Like I work a lot and I make sure that I still enjoy my life. But it's like you said, you emailed me and I was like, yeah, I'm at the salon. It's nice out. We have a big window. Um, yeah, so diversifying my income through the salon, like I've been working behind the chair so much and I still have been doing, like 5 to 6 days behind the chair. So now I'm working on cutting that back and starting to really lean into having employee stylists that are I'm helping build up, but that's also giving me another stream of income as well. Product sales, as much as I would love to say they're like a huge stream of income, it's really just like a small piece of the puzzle. Uh, but it is helpful. And, becoming affiliated with these brands definitely gives a benefit to the salon. Some of them provide education. Like the more I buy, the more like points we get, and we get to like sometimes have like free back bar products or the products that we use on clients. So that's really helpful. And then the next one is with education. We've been bringing educators to the salon, and I wouldn't say that that's been like a huge stream of income yet, but as we continue to build these relationships, like we can definitely start to grow that stream of income. And then when I start teaching more classes myself, that's when I think that stream of income is going to really hit well.
And is your salon set up well for that? Not all, some salons are kind of chopped up, which don't lend themselves to education as well because everybody can't always see each other. How is your
Right.
space set up?
We have like, we can comfortably do like a 20-person class. So it's pretty nice. And it, and 20 people where like people can still see, this isn't like when we're doing classes, they're not like all like seated in rows. Like the educators really want people to be active. Like we're hairstylists. We don't sit down all day. We are like on our feet all day long, walking around. I eat dinner standing up at my counter half the time because I just can't sit down. So I think having those like seated classes, like people, they get antsy. They want to move. So having 20 people in the salon is pretty nice. Everybody's kind of moving around a little bit. We have a pretty open space. Uh, yeah, so it works really well for classes. What I would like to do at some point is be able to have bigger classes where we can have more like 40 people. And we have the tap house that's next door to the salon, which I know that we could always like rent out that space. And that's kind of like an idea that I have later on in the future when I do want to start having a more of a stream of income when I bring other educators in, is having a bigger space to be able to have more people attend.
Is that the corner tap house?
Yeah.
Oh, they do
Yeah.
line dancing.
They
You could
do line dancing.
line dancing and line dancing and
Yeah.
education. Get people
Monday nights. Yeah.
There you go. I'm there.
I'm doing hair and then I hear that music start bumping next door and I'm like, all right, the line dancing is going on.
Yes, and it is packed.
It is packed.
But there you go. Maybe there's a combo there.
Yeah.
But for a real question,
Yeah.
is there a service that you have at the salon that is more profitable than others? One thing I noticed is you have like a scalp service, and I've been intrigued by those because I know they've been like a very hot, trendy thing right now. So is there something there that's more popular for you? Or you can even talk about the scalp service as well. Like, is that something you've been offering for a while? Is it new? I'd love to hear more about that.
The scalp service is new, but going along the lines of like having these like more holistic, clean lines, they tend to really lean into a healthy scalp is going to create healthy hair. And so we have added that to our service menu over the last like 6 months, I think. And so we're still building it up. I have an educator I'm talking to that's going to come in and kind of like teach us how to provide like a luxury experience using those scalp treatments, but it's really nice. I mean, it's like a facial for your scalp. Like it's a hard reset. Like you just go in there, deep clean everything out, rehydrate, and then do treatments, and it feels amazing. Um, I would say that like haircutting is such a huge part of the salon. Like I really push like haircut education here because I you can have like an amazing color done on your hair, but if you don't have a great haircut, people don't notice the amazing color. They're just like, "Oh, your haircut's not great." But if you have like a phenomenal haircut and a mediocre color service, everybody's like, "God, your hair looks amazing." So I really do think that haircutting is like such a huge foundation in like providing a good hair service. So we do a ton of haircuts here. We're really big with like the lived in color trends. I'm like a blonding specialist, so I do like a lot of platinum blondes. And I'm actually going, so I was originally going to go to California in June, but I'm going to Boston in July now to go do some extension training. Because we have two people here that do extensions. Um, but I have not been well, I've been trained in extensions, but I never really embraced it. So it's time for me to go take that on. And I think that is going to become like a really big thing for our salon.
Yeah, those are popular. That's
Mhm.
interesting. Well, now I need to book my scalp massage appointment. Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, come on
Those are
in.
my favorite scalp treatment.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to talk about the relationship side of business because I'm a firm believer that that's a huge piece of any successful business is those relationships, both with the team and your customers and all of those things. Having lived with a stylist now for, man, I guess for almost half of my life, and witness that and that I don't even know what the right word is for the bond between a client and their hairstylist. It is deep.
Yeah.
So talk about that, what those relationships mean, uh, just in business in general, but then, definitely in the hair world.
Yeah. I mean, so with doing hair, we were like one of the few occupations that like physically touch people, right? Like we are like massaging scalps, we're cutting hair. Like it's a pretty intimate like service because not only are we like touching people throughout the service, but we're also having these conversations. Like people really start to open up with you because you're doing everything you can to make somebody comfortable and relaxed, right? It's like sometimes it's you're going in and sitting in a stranger's chair and they're like giving you a scalp massage and asking you what you do for work and how your day is. And you really just start to build these like intimate relationships with people. Um, like you hear about like people's family members passing away, or you like hear about like people going through their first marriage or babies and all those exciting like big life events, like we're always there for. And your clients just really start to I don't like trust you and they get excited to tell you about all the things that are going on. They always want to know what's like going on in our lives too. So, I mean, I see some of my clients more than I see some of my close friends, you know? Um, yeah, so it's definitely like a special relationship that you build with clients for sure. Um, and then like having a good culture in the salon, I love building a community where we have like-minded stylists around. I think that having people that obviously like we're all different from each other, but people that can like support each other, it just makes like for a really cool environment to like help people grow.
As you have your team running around behind you.
I know.
Um,
They can only hear me. They're like, oh, there she goes.
yeah, no, I think it's great that you're sitting there basically in the action as you're. Well, but talk about that team aspect. It's not easy having employees, jumping in and having 10, because you've been open, uh, how long? Almost 2 years?
almost 2 years. It was
Yeah,
July
almost
of
2 years.
yeah.
So having 10 employees is a lot.
Yeah.
And, they don't, not every stylist thinks of this, but stylists, in my opinion, are artists.
Mhm.
And working with artists, they all have their own perspective and sometimes their own quirks and those sorts of things. So talk about balancing that with, like, you have all these different personalities in any business, but now compounding that, you have these people that are, most likely individuals that like to express themselves and all those pieces that going into having a creative job, you know, tends to have.
Yeah, I like really try to find the strengths in each person that we have on the team. Obviously not everybody's going to be like me, right? Like I they look at me like I'm crazy half the time. They're like, "Can you take a day off?" I'm like, "Well, maybe later. I don't know." Um, but I try to find like all their strengths and I really try to focus on that strength. You know what I mean? Like let's see if like somebody might be like amazing at um helping out with like the front desk and like really like calls people back and really helps out with that area, but maybe they kind of like drop the ball at like taking out the garbage at the end of the night or something, and it's like we all have these strengths and areas that we can work on. um but I guess I just try to like really nurture like the side of people that, because they're like you said, they're artists. Like they're not gonna no, they're not just gonna like change and become this like machine that's gonna do all the things. So I really try to like help place people and support people in the direction that I see that they're the strongest.
I think that's great. I've always been a firm believer of putting people in a position to succeed. And it's not that
Hmm.
they can't develop some of those other muscles and those other skills and
Yeah.
or to do some of those other things. But if they do those things, if those things happen as they're succeeding because they're getting the opportunity to do what they're great at, they're going to be far more likely to adopt those other things and excel, as opposed to saying, yeah, 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 I know you're good at that, but you have to do X, Y, and Z, and you have to do X, Y, and Z this way. You're kind of setting them up for failure, even if they have, a ton of potential and a ton of skill in their area. So I think that's pretty wise of you to be fostering that out of people.
Yeah. And I mean, like, so like our co-stylist program specifically, I really focus on haircutting, and it's really funny because a lot of these, stylists that come out of school, like, none of them wanna cut hair. They're all like, "I hate hair cutting," and I'm like, "Okay, well, this is the one time where I'm like, you gotta learn how to cut hair." And, my first co-stylist, like, she was like, "Hate hair cutting, I wanna be a blonding specialist," and we really focus on hair cutting, and I put her through that certification program, and now she, like, absolutely loves hair cutting, and there's, like, very specific haircuts that she loves, so whenever somebody, like, is calling or I meet somebody and they're like, "Oh, I want this, like, long, whimsical, layered haircut," I'm like, "You gotta go see Sabine, like, she's gonna kill it. This is who you gotta go see." And it's really cool because I do kinda know everybody's strengths here, and it's I I meet people all the time, and I rarely find that I'm, like, giving my own business card out anymore. I'm like, "Oh, you should go see this person or this person or this person would fit perfectly." And knowing everybody's personalities too is really helpful and, like, being able to help place clients with them.
That's very cool. Yeah, Lindsay, she went to Gene Juarez advanced training for cutting, and so that was always a
Mhm.
big piece of her world. Yeah, the color is often what people see. They can see the foil in the hair or whatever when they look through the windows. But like you said before, if someone's walking around with a haircut that doesn't look good, they don't see anything else.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it seems very foundational. It's almost like like skipping to the color is like the easy way, and not to say the
Yeah.
color is easy, but it's like you need that foundation first before you can then go play with the mermaid hair colors. That's all the other fun, or be a blonding expert, as you said.
Yeah,
Um,
and it's, you know it's like you don't have to be a haircut specialist. You don't have to be like the best hair, but you just like, as long as you understand the foundations of it and like you understand like how to balance somebody's like face shape with a haircut or balance
Mhm.
like a color placement with a haircut, like that's the most important part.
I love that because it has this very stripped back feel to it, which I think is a great way also when I'm thinking about your salon and the fact that you are like stripping out all of those toxic ingredients and like
You know?
really giving people something natural. Now that you're also saying that it's like we're getting back to basics with the haircuts, like you
Mhm.
have to know the foundation. That really makes the difference. I love how that all aligns. So this is very cool. Very cool, Angie. Thank you so much for
Thanks.
sharing all of this with us. And
Yeah, of
we'll have to
course.
have you back because I obviously know you'll have those salons across the I-5
Yeah.
corridor, probably many other things by the time we're having
Oh
to like,
God,
oh, I
I know.
accomplished that and that. And I also did these 7 other things. Um, so we'll definitely have you back, but thank you so much for joining us today and sharing all of your wisdom and words with us. And I'm coming to get my scalp treatment, so I will. So I'm extra happy, but thank you so much, Angie. And if you enjoyed this episode, please rate and review it on your favorite podcast platform. And we'll see you next time on Drip Trickle Flow Flood. Thanks, everybody.